This podcast is for professional voice teachers to answer the question, how do I grow my teaching business and even break out of that one-on-one lesson model so that I can reach and teach who I want whenever I want. I'm your host, Allie Tyler, voice teacher of over a decade and marketing and business coach for fellow voice teachers. Welcome to the Voicepreneur podcast. Hello, lovely voice teacher. Welcome to the 50th episode of the Voicepreneur podcast. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. This is such a special episode because it is the 1-year birthday of this podcast. So if you have been listening all year long, oh my goodness, I just want to give you the biggest hug. Thank you so much for all of your support. And if you are a new listener, well, now you know we have been around for exactly 1 year. The Voicepreneur podcast launched last April of 2022. And the date specifically was April 6th. I am coming to you a little bit late and I'll explain why in just a second, but April 6th is actually a really fun day. And I just wanted to talk about it for a second because I don't know about you, but whenever I am making deadlines or launches or some sort of significant day for my business, I always try to make them special, like the days themselves, right? So maybe I'll look for something numerologically, or maybe I'll look for what's going on astrologically. And oftentimes I will pick a day that way. However, April 6th is not one of those days, but it is a very significant day. And it's kind of like I don't even know, it's like a divinely significant day because it all started on April 6th, 2015. This was 8 years ago. Oh my God, it blows my mind that this was 8 years ago, but this was literally 8 years ago when the idea even came to me to start working with musicians on their businesses. And how this came about, it's really cute, actually. It's a really cute story. How this came about was I was on a date with my boyfriend. We were living in Laguna Beach, California together, and we were out eating tacos at this little cute Mexican restaurant called La Serena. Maybe you've been there before. Shout out to La Serena. And we're having tacos. And I was telling him about how it just made me so mad that so many music teachers, so many great music teachers were getting paid next to nothing working at these music teaching companies. So you may feel this. Maybe you are this person right now, or maybe you've had this experience in your life. Oftentimes when we work for a music teaching company, that company founder or director or whoever that person is, your boss, takes a cut, right? And hey, it makes sense. They got to pay for things. I totally understand. But sometimes that cut can feel really frustrating when you're getting paid, like $15 to $25 an hour or something ridiculous, which is what was happening to me at that time and to so many other music teachers that I knew. So I'm woeing to Tyler, my boyfriend at the time, now husband, about all of these frustrations that we're having as music teachers. And I told him, I just wish that we could just rent out a room and be able to charge whatever we wanted and pay for the space. And that be the cut, that be the thing that we're paying for, but that we ourselves as the music teacher can actually just set our own rates. We can create our own schedule. We can literally have our own business. We don't even need to be affiliated with that music studio just to have a space, right? That's what music teachers are really looking for, is the space, because a lot of us, especially, in our younger days, we live in apartments, right? If we're living in an apartment, we often don't want to have all of our students coming to our apartment. I mean, sometimes that works out, but a lot of the times it doesn't. So I had this idea, and I didn't even realize it was an idea when I was telling him this, but he reflected back to me that Allie, this is an idea. We should do this. And I'm like, what do you mean we should do this? What? And he has a really great business savvy mind. So he is projecting back to me that this is totally doable. We just need to find the space, be able to create a specific price that people are renting it for, and then bada bing, we could totally make that happen. We could totally make that happen, Allie. And I'm like, what? We could totally make that? Wait, really? Is that what do you mean? What do you mean? And it was kind of funny because at that same time, this, April 2015, I was finishing up my master's program at USC, and I was in the middle of a music business course that was blowing my mind. Like, I was coming home to Tyler and I was telling him all these things I was learning in my business class. And he was like, yeah, I know all about that. I studied that in college too. Like, it was so fun because now I could actually meet him where he was at with the things that I was learning. So it's totally in that prime time for us to be thinking about building a business, and that's what we ended up trying to pursue doing. So very long story short, what ended up happening was, in order for us to feel confident renting out a space that we would later rent out to teachers, right? We needed to make sure that we had enough teachers who were going to fill up the space, who were going to be able to pay the rent, right? So I went out and I, quote unquote, interviewed or had coffee with, dozens and dozens and dozens of teachers in Orange County. And I went to a Starbucks and I talked to tons of people. And across the board, the number one thing that people would tell me was, oh my God, I love the idea, Allie. That sounds great. So can you get me students though? Like, I don't know how to get students. And that's when I realized, oh, that's the root issue here. It's, yes, we can provide a facility for teachers to come in and run their businesses, but if the teachers don't know how to run their own business, then we as the company who is renting out the studio is going to fail, and the teachers are going to fail, and the whole system is going to fail. That's when I realized, oh, okay, this is actually the number one pursuit. And I need to help musicians actually understand how to grow their own private studio first. So we departed from the idea of renting a actual brick and mortar business and went on our merry way into a camper van, which is a totally different story for another day. But essentially, I took the work online and I started consulting musicians, and it all started April 6th, 2015. And I just love it because that was the night where we were staying up until 2 a.m. at the whiteboard. We were crunching numbers, and I just really became committed to this idea. It all started with that one idea. So flash forward to 2 years later, April 6th, 2017, and this is like totally divine. This was not at all planned. It just happened to be on this exact same day, which is when I caught on to, oh, this is a significant day here. I ended up joining with a lovely woman named Claire Condit on her business called The Marketed Musician. We launched our podcast together, and we started growing our business together, which was all about helping musicians and specifically music teachers grow their private studio businesses and really know how to market themselves online. Then flash forward to 2 years later after that, April 6th, 2019, I eventually did leave The Marketed Musician to pursue my own business, and I launched The Whole Voice. And I did specifically pick April 6th to launch The Whole Voice because I had caught on that that was a very significant day in my life. And so I had to keep that theme going, of course. And so last year, April 6, 2022, I launched the Voicepreneur podcast. So here we are, not on April 6th, unfortunately. I was not able to get you the episode out on the day that I wanted to, and I've had to let that go internally, but that is okay. Truthfully, I actually wanted to put out this episode with my new microphone that I have, but I've been having some struggles. That microphone is causing me some issues. So hopefully next week, you will hear a new sound quality to the Voicepreneur podcast. And actually, that is a perfect thing to talk about for just a second. I want to admit to you, and someone in the Voicepreneur program said that I should do this on the podcast, so I'm doing it. I want to admit to you that I have never used a microphone for these podcasts. I'm sure you can tell. I have been recording all of these episodes on my phone. I literally am looking at my phone right now. It has the video going. It is a video. And then I go into iMovie and I extract the audio and I buff up the sound a little bit, but I do not have fancy equipment. And that was something I told myself I did not need in order to commit to the process. Maybe you need to hear that. You don't need to have fancy equipment to start the process. In fact, something that I ended up doing was I told myself, you know what? If I commit to this process without fancy equipment, then I will reward myself with fancy equipment later down the road for committing to the process. So here I am 1 year later, finally buying myself a new microphone, and hopefully you will hear it next week. This year, meaning last April to right now in April, this is the first year that I fully committed to being a marketing and business coach. I had done it on the side for the last 8 years, as you just heard, but I had been also teaching voice at the same time. I was performing, I was writing music, I was doing tons of other things. You know how that goes, right? We all wear lots of different hats. And one of the choices that I made last year was to focus on one thing rather than trying to do all the things. It's so hard, my friend. And I have given this advice to many voice teachers because I get it. We feel like we're walking around without a limb. I definitely have been feeling that this year. Like when I decided I am not going to teach voice lessons, I am only committing to building up the Voicepreneur temporarily. I'm going to go back, which I did. Now I'm teaching voice lessons again. But that entire year when I committed to doing one thing, I absolutely felt like I was walking around without a limb. But, oh my God, was it worth it? It was so worth it. I can't put into words. Like I never would have been able to get this far with my business had I been doing all of the things like I had been doing for the 7 years prior. 7 years I was trying to do it all. And so sometimes you just got to have that wake up call of like, I've been doing this for a long time and things haven't really changed. So maybe I should trim some of the weeds and really just focus on one thing. So in January of 2022, last year, I decided to go all in on the Voicepreneur. And it was funny because I actually didn't even have that name picked out yet. It was in January where I knew I was going to go all in on it, but I didn't know what I was going to call it. I was debating between doing something with my brand, The Whole Voice. I have the brand, The Whole Voice, which is what I've been doing for voice teaching. But this was also the place where teachers were finding me on Instagram specifically. This was what my brand already was. And truthfully, I was so afraid of starting a new brand. And you've probably felt this too, where you're like, maybe you actually feel this specifically with your performing. I've heard a lot of voice teachers talk about this, where they have an Instagram for their performances or them as a singer or just them in their personal life, right? And then it feels really scary to be like, oh God, do I really have to start a whole new brand? Like really a whole new teaching brand? I totally get it. I was experiencing the exact same thing. I was like, I really don't want to do this. It's just so much work. I already built a brand. Like the whole voice was rolling. It was doing great. But I did it. I did. I decided to create an entirely new brand. I just realized it was getting way too messy in my head trying to mesh them together. And since I had committed to focusing on one thing, that meant I had to really take a look at my voice teaching business and say, you know what? I love you, The Whole Voice. I will always love you, and I will come back to you. I'm just going to hit pause right now so that I can build the Voicepreneur. And that name came from the beta program that I had run the entire year prior called the Voicepreneur Collective. So I totally understand if you've had this similar debate within yourself about whether to create a whole new brand or to rebrand or what. I had that internal debate for months. Since I was coming out of my maternity leave, as an entrepreneur, this basically means that you have to define what's next for yourself, right? If you are ever going on a leave like I did, or you're taking a break or whatever, and you are running your own business, when you come back, that is your blank canvas. That is your moment to decide, am I going to do things how I've always done them, or am I going to do them differently? So that's when I decided I'm going to do them differently. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to go all in with the Voicepreneur. And I made 3 key decisions this year that changed the game, that changed my life in the very best way possible. And I wanted to share them with you because as a business owner, it is so important to be thinking about these 3 things in your decision making as well. So the first decision that I made was, number 1, I invested in high-level coaching. I knew I wanted to hire a coach. And it took me honestly about 4 months to find the right one. I was really looking and I knew I needed one. And so when I came across this program called Recurring Profit, which has since retired. It is no longer available, which is really sad because it is such a great program. But I came across this program called Recurring Profit. It was a group coaching program, meaning there were lots of us, of course, but there were lots of coaches as well. There was a team of coaches that were specifically helping online course creators scale their business. This was really intriguing to me because I really wanted to get lots of different perspectives. I wanted to be able to follow a specific method, which I did. Recurring Profit is a specific method that they teach you to scale your business. And I was just so excited to actually dive into a high level program. I knew so much about business and marketing already. So I was really specifically looking for something that was going to stretch me. And oh boy, did it. It was around $10,000. And it is just, I mean, I'm still working through it. Like, I am still doing the work. It's something that you're always going to be doing. And it is so deep. It is so much. And it is so worth it. It was so worth it. I loved the program and I gained everything that I wanted from it. So it was a really great investment for myself. And this is what I encourage for you. Investing in yourself is one of the most important things that you can do. And you know this. You are a voice teacher. So I can probably guess that you have invested a lot in your vocal training, in your pedagogy, in your technique, in your singing, in your music, which is fantastic. We should do this. We absolutely should be doing this. And if you want to make a sustainable career out of this, you need to invest in your business, period. You do. There is no way around this. Trust me, I have tried it. I went years without a mentor and without help. And the times when I didn't have any help, when I especially thought that I could get away with learning things like from podcasts and YouTube videos and free webinars, I literally wasted a bazillion hours of my life. I was just on a hamster wheel doing absolutely nothing and doing all the things that I thought I was supposed to be doing and seeing zero results. Having a coach, having a course, having accountability, something that you are really investing in, that is so important for you because you will not know what to focus on that will actually move the needle in your business without getting help. Trust me. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Maybe this is your little sign from me or the universe, however you want to think about it, that it is time to invest in your business, my friend. Which leads me to the second best decision that I made for myself this year, hiring help. I hired an assistant, an amazing virtual assistant, and obviously that has changed everything for me. But I will tell you that this was the hardest thing to do. I actually feel like this felt even harder to do than investing in my coaching program. And I think the reason why is because I have always done things myself. With the exception of working with my business partner, Claire, with the Market and Musician, I had done everything up to this point by myself. And you may be feeling the same way where you're like, I got my systems. I got my processes. I know how to do this. And bringing someone into my picture is actually just going to slow me down. Yes, there is a little bit of work when you are transitioning into making your life easier, but then you're going to make your life easier, right? Long game vision here. That's what hiring help does. So that is what happened with me. And that is what happened with my wonderful assistant. The moment that I hired her, everything changed for me. I literally could not do what I am doing without Mika's help. So shout out to Mika. I love you, Mika. And shout out to Annie Little, who is a voice teacher / friend / client of mine, who was my divine connector, who helped me find Mika. And actually, let me backtrack for a second and just share a little bit about finding help, because the first and most important thing really when you are thinking about finding help, couple of things. Number one, your budget. And then number two, what those tasks actually are. And of course, those are going to go hand in hand, right? So for me, I was looking for someone who could really help me pick up the slack with all the admin work I was doing, such as customer and onboarding processes and systems, my program maintenance, content planning. There's so much, right? And it just happens that that type of thing is pretty specific for a virtual assistant's role. So once I was able to clarify the type of role I was looking for, which is a virtual assistant, then it was so much easier to be able to look for that position. Now, unfortunately, in my case, and this happens all the time, I did hire a couple of people prior to finding Mika, and they didn't work out. They were not my people. And when I say hire, what I actually did is a test run, which I totally recommend doing, just having like a month test run or a couple of weeks, however long you want to do it. And when I test ran it with these other people, they weren't my fit. And truthfully, I was just feeling really defeated. Like I was feeling that like, ugh, should I really be doing this? I don't think I need help. Maybe I can just keep doing it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't need help. No, wait, self-check. Wait a minute. I do need help. So perhaps instead of being frustrated with this process, which it is a frustrating process, no doubt, it definitely is, I'm going to do my very best to stay open to the possibilities that maybe I don't even have to do as much work as I think. So when I was looking for my assistant, again, I really took the time to co-collaborate with the universe. I knew I would be divinely guided to the right person in some magical way. And that's how a lot of these experiences in our life happen, right? Think about all those really cool gigs that you've had, or think about how some of your students found you. Think about all kinds of things in your life that you did not control, that you did not plan, that just magically happened for you. Sometimes when we set the intention of, I want that thing to happen, that is really all we need to make that thing happen. And that truly was what happened when I found Mika. I told the universe, I just need some divine help here, please. I was on a client session with Annie, and she told me that her assistant was now looking for more work and that she really liked working with voice teachers. So if I was looking for anybody, that I could reach out to her. So divine. So here we are, and I am so grateful that that is how things unfolded in that experience. So I encourage you, if you are overloaded, if you are overwhelmed, hire help. It is worth it. It is so worth it, my friend. And if you're not ready, that's okay too. But chances are you're never going to feel ready. Just saying. I did not feel ready when I hired Mika, but I did it anyway. All right. And now for the final best decision that I made in the last year. And I saved the best for last. I know that this is a long episode. This is longer than usual, but I hope that you are with me because this is so important. And I just hope that it encourages you and inspires you. Are you ready for it? What I did is I decided to focus on what I was selling before building my brand. I know that the very first thought that comes to mind when we have a business idea, when we know what type of business we are going to create is, okay, I got to build a brand. Okay, I got to make an Instagram handle. I got to build a website. I got to start a YouTube channel. I got to start a podcast, whatever it is, right? When you have that idea, that's just naturally where our mind is going to go. That is because we are all suffering from shiny object syndrome, and that is a totally separate episode. But here's the thing. Here is the most important thing. You will at some point, when you have started this trajectory, when you have started your Instagram and your YouTube and your website or whatever, there will be a point where you will ask yourself, wait, what am I actually selling here? So rather than building the brand first, what if you built your offer first? That's what I decided to do with the Voicepreneur. And truthfully, I did it all simultaneously, but I was super duper focused on selling my program first before building my brand. The one way that I was building my brand while I was building my program was here on the podcast, but I also had the confidence to be able to do this because I had been building the Voicepreneur over the last 2 years prior without actually having a brand. I did this with a Facebook group. So you may be a part of the Aligned Voice Teachers. If you are, shout out. If not, come and join us. We are a Facebook group of voice teachers all working on our businesses together. And I started this group back in May of 2020 when the pandemic was having all kinds of voice teachers ask these questions about branding and marketing and growing our businesses online. So every Monday inside of that Facebook group, I went live for a Marketing Monday free training, and I would teach about all kinds of different topics: email marketing, website, social media, you name it, and we talked about it. In fact, to this day, you can go and watch all of those Marketing Mondays. They are inside of the Guides tab in the Aligned Voice Teachers Facebook group. So with this group, I was able to get a little audience of voice teachers, which I then brought into my beta for the Voicepreneur Collective, which was a program that I beta tested for 12 months. I do not recommend doing a beta for 12 months. Way too long of a beta, but I did it. I did a beta for 12 months. And when that beta ended in February of 2022, that is the same exact time that I had joined Recurring Profit, which was that program I talked to you about earlier. And it was the same time that I outlined the new Voicepreneur program. So I changed it from the Voicepreneur Collective to the Voicepreneur program. This was when I decided to launch the podcast a couple months later alongside the Instagram account and, most importantly, the program, which I hadn't even created yet. So this is the key here. I pre-sold it. I sold the idea. I could go out onto my podcast and my Instagram that I had just started, like these little baby little things, and sell my program idea. And then in real time over the summer from June to September, the Voicepreneur program actually came to life. And what I mean by it came to life is that I dripped it out. So instead of pre-recording a bunch of videos and making this whole program and then doing a big fancy launch and then doing a whole big brand, I actually just decided to make the program dripped out week by week with students. So students were a part of this program. And then once those 16 weeks were done, the program was done. And then I could continue selling it on, right? So you don't have to pre-record. You can do it live. You can pre-sell it. You can, you can do all kinds of things without having to do that much. I just had an idea. And that's it. And that's where this all started. And so after I finished the program, after those 16 weeks, I built the Voicepreneur website. And that's the key here, is that the website can come last. You don't have to have a website to be selling a program. The website actually makes so much more sense when there's stuff to put on it, right? And if I had started the website right from the get-go, I would have nothing to put on it. I wouldn't have podcast episodes and programs and an about page and all of those things. I needed to build all of those things first. So the website actually came last. And I tell you this because I want you to understand the full picture of how these things can happen and to encourage you to work on your offer first. You do not need to worry about keeping up with content or refining your website. Like, these are actually, if I'm going to be real, these are procrastination tools. These are procrastination tools. They are disguised as something that seem very productive, which, hey, they are. Viral reels are super productive if you have something to sell them. It's not super productive if you are just making reels for making reels' sake. For what? So that you can fill up your studio with more students and then feel more burned out and then be like, oh, I really need time to make a program, but I have no time because I have a full studio, but I have a full studio because I'm posting on Instagram all the time and TikTok, and I love posting on those, but now I keep filling up my studio with that, which is great, but I have no time to make a program. Let's check our priorities here, my friend, right? Stop making the content. Focus on your offer. Make it scalable. Use the students that you have. Leverage your studio. Don't worry about content for content's sake. Like, it's just so silly. It's just so silly because your Instagram and your TikTok will always be there. That content will always live there. And you can take a little break and work on your offer. This is the thing that is going to set you up for success. Whew, I just went to church there for a second. Sorry about that. Did not think I would feel so passionate about that, but I do because I'm just so sad and sick and tired, honestly, of seeing so many voice teachers come to me with the same problem, which is that I have a full studio. I can't stop taking students and I have zero time to work on my offer. And one of the first questions I ask them is, well, how often are you posting? How often are you on Instagram? And a lot of the times they're posting all the time, which is incredible. I love that. I love you. You are awesome. Now, let's focus on your offer. And if you want to learn how to do that in the most supremely efficient way, you got to come and join us inside of the Voicepreneur program, because that is what we do. That is what I teach you how to do. And if you are listening to this in the month of April of 2023, for a very, very limited time, you can join the program at just $55 a month, and you will get the Amplify course that we just did last month in March for free. So the Amplify course is actually really the stripped down business basics course. This is the course that most of the voice teachers are actually taking first. It's kind of like a prerequisite, and it helps you grow your private studio so that you can actually scale your studio, right? So you will get both of these programs for $55 a month, but only for the month of April. So if you want to come and join us at this insanely low rate before the prices go up, definitely check out the show notes inside of this episode. So to conclude this episode, I saved the very best thing for last. This is a super exciting special surprise for you to celebrate the Voicepreneur podcast's 1-year birthday, 50 episodes. I am going to be giving away $50 Amazon gift cards to a few lucky winners who rate and review the Voicepreneur podcast. So if you are a listener, if you have enjoyed this podcast, I so greatly appreciate your support. I just so greatly appreciate you. Like, seriously, I can't even tell you the amount of times that people tell me that they learn things from the podcast and that they are changing their business since they've listened to this. Oh my God. Yes. That is the best thing I could hear, because that is the point. I want you to feel so empowered and so inspired. And I am so appreciative that you are showing up for yourself by listening to this podcast. So if you have enjoyed this podcast, if it has helped you at all with your business, you've had any insights or aha moments or anything, please come and rate and review us over on Apple. It is so hugely helpful to get this in front of more people. And I will be picking some winners to get that $50 Amazon gift card. I will be announcing these people over on Instagram at The Voicepreneur. So if we have not connected already over there, please come and find me over there so that we can connect with one another. I especially love it when we can DM each other so that we can get to know one another. It really is me, and I really do love getting to know you and your business. So thank you so much for listening to a slightly longer episode than usual. I want to give you a huge virtual hug and just share how appreciative I am of you being here over these last 50 episodes. I cannot wait for another year of The Voicepreneur with you. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next episode.